So can you just repeat what's the name of the brotherhood?
Plymouth Brethren
Brethren,
Christian
yeah, brethren.
Church.
Yeah, I'm going to have to Google a bit.
It used to be called the Exclusive Brethren, but they changed that since they had court cases and allegations. So, yeah.
To something more inclusive.
Yeah.
Well, you have to understand that the organization that I was part of, or my family I was born into, adheres to the words of no compromise or exclusivity, whereas they would uphold that they are unique and that they are divinely placed in a position where we can't break any boundaries with anybody that isn't part of our church. So, for example, I wouldn't be able to have a meal or a beer or
Podcast.
a podcast with M or with B. You know, I wouldn't be able to marry somebody who doesn't uphold or go to the same church, and the passport for going to that church is being born into it. You
Wait,
can't.
only
You
born.
0.1% are people that come in. 0.1%.
Wait, so wait, can I convert to that faith community at
Try it.
all?
Sorry,
Try it.
wait. So
How does the church survive?
Well, it only started in the late 1800s by a
Okay.
very, very well-versed man called John Nelson Darby.
Okay.
Alas, my Bible, the new
Okay.
translation written by John
Mhm.
Nelson Darby, translated into 7 different languages, in 99 Green Lane, Hounslow, Middlesex, England.
Mhm.
Very smart man. He was a clergyman, pulled away from the Anglo Church, said that it was full of corruption, and wanted to seek a pure line. He met with many people and created a small group. The group then went through multiple changes and big separations until the last 60 years. They've had pretty much no compromise. So nobody comes in. It only grows organically from within. And in one point, I understand there was nearly 200,000 people in the church, and now there is as little as 47,000. And it is managed and run with a pyramid hierarchy, to be very honest, that's unquestionable and unchallengeable. There is no graduation to be part of that hierarchy. It's just by adhering to the letter and to the scope of delivery, as we'd say in business, scope of work. And then the reality is that you can't challenge it, because it would be challenging if you believe in the divine intervention that you were born in there. And that if you don't believe in that, then yes, you are going to hell. So
Wait,
the
they're
reality,
like I have to add, they're like literally that direct that you will go to hell. Because
I'll
I'm
just
completely
I'll just share real life experiences, and then you can
okay.
make your conclusions. If I had gone and left and married that girl and fallen in love and made a life, I would have been excluded. I would have been cut off economically and emotionally from my parents, from my family, from my grandparents, from my cousins, from my sisters, brothers, loved ones. And I would be considered to be on the blacklist. And there is a blacklist. And I am being very open and transparent here, and I fear that does instill the fear of God in me. That an organization is capable of misinterpreting the love of God for extremist or fanatical approach that there is no biblical basis whatsoever. And if you pull scripture to base your argument, you
Okay.
need to be open for other parts of scripture to challenge it. But if you're not, then it's
Oh,
weakness. So
okay, you froze
yeah.
again, just FYI.
Oh,
Yeah, we're gonna have to deal with that. It is what it is. I'm still trying to swallow that pill. You're black now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to swallow the pill that you can't convert into the church. That it's
I mean,
completely closed. Like it's like royal lineage or something, and it's like that's very hard for me to swallow right now. I didn't know.
Yeah, because if you do not allow anyone to convert into your religion, you have doomed that religion to destruction. I mean, unless there's a crazy high birth rate and retention of members, but
well, there is, because I'll go into more details. Members, there is no, you get married and there is no process of life before marriage. So things happen when people get married. Babies appear. Yeah, people are virginity is a must. I'll be very open, transparency. 99% of the people that get married are 100%, new to everything. Yes.
Okay.
Sex education is taboo. Sex isn't spoken about. And sex is health. It's life. It's lifestyle. It's healthy. It's a thing that we do as a race. We shouldn't be taboo about it. We're not talking about the immoral side of it, I think. We're talking it's the same as alcohol. I mean, you can enjoy a cup of wine, but it doesn't make you a drunk.
True.
Right? You can enjoy being successful in your job, but it doesn't make you a lover of money. There's that's why there is certain things that we can abuse. But the same as this, sex is very taboo. Like it's not spoken about whatsoever.
True.
Do you still see him?
Rate.
Do you still not see Jason? Because I don't.
I don't see him. Yeah.
It's just black. Unfortunately, Jay, I think you need to reconnect. That doesn't re-engage the camera for some reason. I'm sorry.
Oh man, no worries. I'm coming now. Do you want me to connect from my phone? And
I don't know. At this point, it's a bit.
What will Jason share next? Stay tuned in Church Mouse Scandal.
Shut up, will you?
There is a very high retention rate because the fear of the unknown is installed into you from a very young age. So if I say, B, if you step outside, you are a convict. Bad things are going to happen to you. The government of God is going to come down on you.
The government.
I've had that, B. I've had that many times.
So wait, essentially God is turning into this big boogeyman that that threatening you on every corner unless you behave.
Well, I mean, you make me laugh, but it's not very funny because it's actually a very sad.
This is how B works. He processes things like that, and I actually envy him for it because I tend to, like, while they're speaking, I'm like, I feel subsided. I feel caged just while listening to you, and I gotta say. You've been brought up like this, right? Like from the earliest, like, yeah. So your parents, they weren't converted. They must have been born into the church.
Correct.
And that basically means they got the same upbringing, right?
Of course.
Okay, but did anything change? Well, do you know at least? Did anything change from the time they were, excuse me for saying, but indoctrinated into this way of life, and the time when you were indoctrinated into this? That was what, did anything change, or was it like the same principle that has been there for I don't know how many years?
Okay, separation at all costs has been there pretty much for the last 60 to 70 years. And when I mean enforced, I mean enforced. For example, if let's say I go to Belgrade and we have a barbecue, and if I was part of the church and that happened, I would be removed from the church. And if I was married and I'd gone on a business trip on my own, I would probably lose contact with my wife and my children.
Wait, on your own, does this mean that you guys sort of have to travel in groups in order to ensure?
Correct. And you're not allowed to travel to places where the church isn't present. Alas, my ambition to travel, which I'm actually at the moment, by the way, Bohan, I'm founding a blog called Sin Columna, which is a digital nomadic lifestyle hub.
Okay.
I'm a big advocate for travel. Like, if there's anybody who believes in traveling and learning languages and learning cultures, it's me. I adore traveling. I adore crossing borders. I adore meeting new people, and I really adore the richness of culture. And when I started traveling, I went to Brazil. I've been to China. I've been to Dubai. Most places in Europe, most places in North America and Central America. I was like, these people are so happy as well. These cultures survive. People are married and happy. They don't all end up in divorces and terrible cases that you've been fed all your life, that if you're not part of this church, you're doomed for distress and success is not feasible. And that's when, I guess, from 23, I think I would have said, I took the red pill. And I'm 27 now, nearly 28. Well, a few months away from 28. I have been in issues with in open issues, like as in back and forth with the church for the last 4 years.
Okay, I have a couple of questions because, but I just want to comment because we have a faith community here as well. With I doubt it is that strict, but I do see some similarities. And a friend of mine attended their service. They're open in that regard. At least they have a mission. At least they do missionary work. And when she was there, she said that during their service, this homilist came on stage, and that homilist said, I saw one of our former brethren yesterday. He was cleaning trash. And she said, can you imagine what does that do to people? Like, do not leave the church or you will clean trash and so on. But I have so many questions. For example, if you do not travel where there's no church present, how does one even form a new church? Again, I do realize that they're not into missionary work. Second, I assume that faith community believes that everyone who's not part of it is doomed to perdition. Am I right?
Correct. We call them the world.
Sorry?
We call it the world.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So my question is, how do they reconcile that with if you truly do believe that people will end up in hell? Why do not they do missionary work in order to save people from it? And also because you are sort of, an apostate, how does the church deal with you? Do they contact you? Do they try to bring you in gently or by force or however? I do realize that these are maybe touchy questions, so feel free not to answer any of them.
No. I mean, B, I think if Emma's told you anything about me, I don't really have many filters. So question number one.
Question number one was how do they form new churches if they're...
Answer is no.
Okay.
They believe that they are the chosen ones and that they're Christ's bride on earth. They are the assembly, the assembly. They're in a singular sense, in the sense of there isn't anybody else out there who is light. And here I am in Argentina, and I've made a great friend with them. And we've spoken probably about God 10 times max.
Yeah.
So where's the truth? It's not really about the singular sense. That's clear as the noonday sun. So yeah, number one, they don't. There is no opening of churches. Quite the opposite. Weaker churches are closed down, and people are forced to move. So there used to be a position in South Africa, in Cape Town, and it got quite weak. So they very financially affluent people from the church went in there and helped them move out, because obviously it became weak, and a weak position would mean like a.
But move where?
They moved them to other places where the church is. So Australia, New Zealand, UK.
So I'm guessing then you can't be a part of that community and go to school, to like a public school.
No, they have their own schooling. They have their own schooling. Their own schooling is of utter excellence. It's one of the things that I respect the most of the church. The schooling is a hell of a system. It gave me, look, I was one of the guinea pigs of the schooling system, and I came out with 2 A's, 1 A star, an A, a B, and a C. And I could have gone into, any university in the world.
Wow.
Any business university. And I did my tertiary studies in lean management and economics, and I enjoyed it, and I had doors open, but I didn't want to pursue that because we don't go to university. It's not allowed. People don't go to university and graduate.
Because they don't have a university of their own.
Right, yeah.
So,
and question number, sorry, go ahead, Milos. Go ahead.
No, please.
Question number 2, Bohan, was I am considered was it apostate? How would they deal with me?
How they're dealing with you?
Okay, so I'm excluded in every sense. So I don't have communication. I've been through this before, but I reconciled, and I said I was wrong, and I managed to communicate again with my family and have a semi-normal life with my family. But recently, a few things have come up, and I considered it a violation of human rights. And I have facts and reasons for that. And I stated my case, and I was told to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to leave. I actually slept on the floor 3 nights ago in my office. So okay. I'm not ashamed, to talk about this. If anything, I want to voice the real truth. I'm not attacking the position that I was part of. Quite the contrary. I'm just saying, do you not think that it's time to stand up and be honest with the damage this causes? That's all I'm asking. This has big this has big collateral. It might not be big in numbers, but it's big in damage.
Yeah.
And the reality is they don't treat me, I don't get contacted because I've been excommunicated. Now, if I wanted to contact, they would talk with me. They would talk to me, but it would be a very one-sided conversation. Basically, either I conform or there isn't any conversation. There are some very nice people. I have a very good, I would consider a good friend in the church. He is a more, I think he's 42. Mm-hmm. He lives here in this city, down south of Argentina, the southeast church of Argentina. And he's been very, very faithful and kind to me. But he is indoctrinated, and indoctrinated people aren't reversible. Just like I said, the red pill, the magic pill 3 or 4 years ago, it works the other way as well. And when you've got a family, a structure, financially dependent on the system, it's just a whole network of cohesive factors that only lead to retention.
Yeah.
So there's my answer to your 3 questions. I think.
Well, actually, the second question was, if they
Yeah, why do they don't engage in missionary work if everybody's so hellbound?
Well, the answer is God will appear to, God will give every man an opportunity. So the only missionary work they do is what they would refer to as street preaching.
Mm-hmm.
And the street preaching is once a week by anybody who wants to go. And it's for a few minutes, and generally nobody goes, to be honest. I don't know of any friends my age who have ever been. To be honest, I never was appealed to it. I never appealed to it. I remember as a kid, I would go and follow my dad and hand out these leaflets saying basically the day of, distress is near, and, you're going to hell, like, are you a shipwreck? And all, they were very good leaflets. Like, I think they're very real. I mean, I know what it's like in my soul to be at a shipwreck, and I don't think it's wrong. But what you're saying is very true, because if God is a God of all compassion and love, then we should be able to show some light, or at least point somebody in the right direction of finding some level of salvation in the love of God, and the reception, I suppose, of Jesus Christ into their life.
I just have to comment because I'm noticing some similarities between the teaching of that church and of the Orthodox Church. But man, how are things different when it comes to practice? Because Orthodox Church does believe it to be the one true church, the one that Jesus Christ originally established, and there are some things that you can call exclusive. For example, we do not admit anyone to communion or other sacraments who are not Orthodox. And while technically we can marry a non-Orthodox Christian, it is sort of discouraged, at least as regards in the church. However, I would say that, like, the practice of shunning people is, I don't want to say non-existent. There are probably cases when you had overzealous parents kicking out their rebellious children. I myself am not aware of that. I simply assume that it happens because simply life happens. But to have it actually imposed by the church, I never heard of anything similar. And this is, I mean, I think this is a bit of a culture shock, in the sense,
it is.
I know that there are communities like this, but it is something else entirely to actually meet somebody who has had and still has real life consequences, issues, and experiences of this.
Plus, here's the thing, right? There's one thing that you expect from secluded communities. And when I met you, Jason, I couldn't even imagine something like that, to be honest. I didn't see any sort of, like, I didn't notice anything especially different about you that I would about anybody else whom I meet, especially whom I meet online, right? But
Yeah.
God willing, we're gonna meet face to face soon. And by the way, just a comment, Jason, I'm gonna start.
Maybe just like real lag.
Sorry, Em?
What did you say? What kind of a joke did you?
Maybe he has like 3 legs or something.
Yes, I did not. No, actually, I know. He hurt his knee, so I saw he has 2 legs for sure. I mean, one is bigger than the other because he hurt his knee, but that's temporary. But what I was gonna say is, you said you were gonna do a travel blog and be a traveler, and there's Corona being like, you're not today. But yeah, hopefully that is gonna change. Look, when I started realizing that you are part of this kind of a community, I immediately started trying to figure out, like, how are you this normal? That's literal. I'm like, no filters. How are you this normal if this is how you were brought up?
I wasn't brought up like this. I'm an alien. I was an alien from 21 years old. I detested the closed principle. I struggle from anxiety attacks from a very young age. Not now in recent days, but in past years I've struggled with anxiety, and one of the main causes for anxiety is compression of environment around you. Like if you have a lot of compression, a lot of restriction, a lot of like, for example, if you're in a toxic relationship with your partner or your wife, you're very likely to be victim to anxiety attack. Well, I wasn't in a relationship and I was having anxiety attacks, and very, very strong ones, terrible nightmares. And the reality is that I went to one of the best therapists there is in Argentina, and we went through some very, very deep and dark principles of the reasons behind the brain going into overdrive and telling the body it's going to die. That's an anxiety attack. An anxiety attack is the imminent fear of death. And the reason being is if you've been indoctrinated for 2 decades that if you step outside, you will die, then how can you expect the brain to cooperate or have every different behavior? Thanks to God, I have overcome these weaknesses in me. Not all have been, I would say not all, we're never fully there, but I'm in control of my emotions to a certain extent now as an adult. But as a 22 or 23 or 24-year-old with very loose, knowing how I was going to get out of here, I was financially dependent. I had no career outside the church. I was considered a complex person because I would want to do the next thing. I wanted to know about the next thing. I wanted to know the reason why behind. I had nobody that would really back me or follow or support me in believing in being independent and not dependent. And then music has been a pathway for me. Music has helped me. Fitness has helped me, and red wine has helped me.
Yeah,
Not
but
too much.
first of all,
For context, I'm an
I told you
avid
this.
red wine connoisseur.
I told you this many times, but you and I are actually very, very alike. I'm gonna dig up the episode where B and I talked about some things, and I talked about how I actually entered the faith, how I came to believe in God in the first place, and it started like that. I went through around 6 months of everyday constant anxiety, like fear of dying, basically 24 hours, 24/7. I mean, I'm still 24/7 thinking about that. There's nothing to be done. I've accepted the fact that, for the rest of my life, that's what I'm going to be dealing with. And people will say, this is a curse, or some others would, maybe more enlightened, would say it's an advantage that you have, and a blessing. But I actually understand 100,000,000% what you're talking about right now. And so a couple of things. First of all, you said music, and I'm interested in how the church, felt about music in general and what kind of music. And the second thing is, why did you temporarily go back and swallow the other pill and say you were wrong? I mean, was it because of family?
Well, okay. First of all, music. So, one second, guys. Can I just say goodbye to my girlfriend?
Of course.
I'm actually going to get her to come through to the show and say hello to Milos.
Oh, nice. We can blur her face if she's not.
No. She would love it.
No, she has a face.
She has a face. She's real. Trust me.
One second, guys. So, answering question number one, music. So basically, I had a band, a church band, and we used to play pretty much church songs. And we went as far as playing evil songs like Creedence Clearwater Revival. I was a drummer and a guitarist and lead singer for many years, from 14 to 17, and then from 18 to 20. Then I lived in Australia for about 2 years. I was sent to Australia because of the business, and at the same time also to have some better indoctrination, so I would become a better Plymouth Brethren Christian Church goer, which is fine. They have a very, very strong position there. And I also was part of a band there. And the band was really cool. Great guys, great people. We had some great social times. But we would never like play outside of the church. So the church would always be, extreme, restricted. It's just like inside the church, inside, family events. And the music was always vetted. So you would never be able to have a piece of music that was question anything outside of our faith. By the way, I won't bring the girlfriend. I'll bring the dogs instead. Hello, boy.
No,
yeah, where's the
why,
dog? The dog is.
That is why I'm
gone.
writing it down.
Okay, I'll call the dog so you can actually see him. Do you see dog? Mona. Basically, I'm a big dog advocate. I think they're.
So wait, do you advocate big dogs, or are you big advocate of dogs?
Big dog advocator. That's not avocado. Advocator. So an advocator of dogs, a big advocate. Yeah, they will appear. I think they're drinking some water. So basically, the answer is that music then transitioned into me going out of the band and exploring just doing it myself. So I set up a little studio at home. I used to buy, in those days it was records, and then Spotify came out 5 years ago. Brethren aren't allowed Spotify, so you're not allowed to have
Because it's
music
not vetted. It's not vetted.
Right. So I was considered quite evil because I'd listened to Drake and to I was a big Ed Sheeran fan. I went to Arctic Monkeys when they came to Argentina, and that was when my heart went pop. If there's anything, that I could say that I would be if it wasn't for humbly working a very small marketing role, would be a musician. I absolutely adore music. I can communicate through music, and I feel very, very happy when I play, and I love making other people happy through music. So that's all I'd say. I remember,
and he actually sounds pretty damn good.
but I couldn't claim that, but I just enjoy it. That's all I
No,
can say.
I can claim that. That's what I'm saying. I can claim that. I was like, people, do music. I mean, I say I do music, and I'm like, and then Jason's like, well, let me send you something of mine. And I'm like, what? And the guy's like destroying a piano and singing like freaking Elton John. And I'm like, okay. Yeah.
No, we will when we come to Belgrade. We will. I travel often with my acoustic guitar, or if anyone has one, I enjoy playing. But basically, the music was a big thing for me. I remember when the Arctic Monkeys, I got the VIP passage, so I actually got to see them after. I'm a big fan of the Arctic Monkeys. I was there at the front. It was all dark, beautiful Buenos Aires night, in the absolute amazing setting, and then suddenly. Dun, da, din, dee, 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 dee. Oh, and it just went, my heart just went, like that was the closest I came to a heart attack. And the music is so raw and so perfect, and they're not perfect. They're human beings just like the rest of us, but they're doing something really incredible, and it conveys great energy, great positive vibes. It really makes you just enjoy that. And so music has always been important. I downstairs here, I rent a house where I have my office, and actually where I'm sleeping now, but downstairs I have my studio, I have my synthesizer, I have my guitar. I gave my drum set up to my younger brother. I gave him my drum set. But just music has always helped me. So we're not allowed inside the church. They're not allowed to be part of another group that isn't part of the church, and lesser are they allowed to have Spotify or iTunes or YouTube Music, whatever it is.
So you're a huge fan of these satanic monkeys. Sorry.
They're actually, but be very careful, because the lead singer actually is a believer. So
I was just thinking, but I want to ask you something. Have you watched that movie, Good boy. Good,
Good
a
boy.
good,
Bohan.
good doggo.
Milos, Jacek.
What is his
You're getting
name?
worse.
Jacek.
That's
What?
better. But
Jakeč. Jakeč.
B's name is the top. Bohan. It's like Rohan from
Bohan.
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, literally
I'll take
the
that.
god.
I'll take that. So, but I'm curious. Did you watch that movie, Magdalene Sisters?
No.
Okay, don't watch it. I mean, I would suppose it would cause some triggers. But essentially, it is a story of these Magdalene asylums in Ireland, where they would send fallen women, which would be usually women who had children out of wedlock in order to repent of their sins. And these women have gone through some serious abuses by the church hierarchy. And that movie was based on a documentary called "Sex in a Cold Climate." And I remember one woman who went through these asylums, and she said, "I don't pray, I don't go to the mass, I don't confess, I do not fast, I don't teach my children religion." So, what I'm curious, because while your experience wasn't as bad, I hope, as that of these women in Magdalene asylums, I'm curious, how did you retain your faith? Because to me, you while you're questioning some of your principles, you seem still very religious. While I know that many people who would leave these kinds of communities would be very tempted to go full-blown atheist, to throw baby with the bathwater. So how did you retain that, seed of faith?
B, God is no respecter of persons.
True.
And I believe that if you've had some level of appearing in your life, and I can name two of them in my life, all I would say is that you have to remember those moments, and you have to be faithful to those moments. God is my creator, and he owns my soul, and that's as far as the story goes. If I convert to Orthodox and learn Belgradian Serbian, and I move to Belgrade, any wild things happen, my link with God is my link with God. I don't violate that at all costs, and I never will ever sell my soul to a religion, ever again. The idea of interpreting my link of God with a church is really something that I am definitely apostate to. I am not apostate to the word of God. I'm definitely not apostate to the wonderful work of Jesus and his love, and the fact that bad things, you can do bad things can happen in your life, and there is an actual forgiveness. I think the power of redemption is really the only reason why we're here, end of story, like EOS. It's the period. That's it. And I really don't question I never question my faith. I do question the possibility that there are other faiths that could be more powerful than the one I was brought into or doctrinated into. I do question that there are possibly other versions of Christianity or other versions of believing in God that aren't wrong either. Like, for example, I've met Buddhists. I went to a detox place in Brazil 2 years ago, and I experienced a wonderful spiritual enlightenment, and they never mentioned the word of God. It was more about detoxing from the outer world, and it was like cutting off communications for 72 hours. It was eating all untreated food, drinking water, no sex, no alcohol, no substance, just the sea, like literally the sea, and a zone where there was no magnetic fields. And I have never experienced something like that before. So I do believe that there are other spiritual links with another dimension, but I never question my faith. I never question my faith because I fear God, because I honestly do fear him. I don't fear many things, but I do fear God. You know, I
Mhm.
fear in a way that I respect Him. And the moments I have had on my knees, or any time in my life, where I felt some passing or some impartation from another dimension, I think it's you just have to hold on to it and screw
Yeah,
everything else that tries to come in and change that.
true, true.
So
This
yeah, I actually had a question which I'd like to reiterate, which is you apostatized once before and you came back. Why did you come back then?
Let me be clear. The reason I left nearly 4 years ago wasn't because of apostate. It was because I had some substance issues. I was struggling with alcohol. I was struggling with a relationship which I couldn't. I was basically I was inside the church, like actually going to church, you know, putting on the white t-shirt, doing the right thing, and at the same time I was living a second life. And basically those two things ended up disrupting, you know, just you know, not obviously not, they're not linear, they don't, they sooner or later they part ways. And that's why I left the first time. Very open about it. I just wanted to be all in, you know. I was playing all my cards. I thought life was, you know, and I'm not, to be honest, I should say I'm not proud of what I did, but I'm not also embarrassed, because it
Mhm.
taught me some really important things about life, which I would have never, ever, ever have learned. And if God blesses me ever with children and I can share my experiences that I learned having crossed over to the other side of the street, then maybe I might be able to save somebody from
Yeah.
suffering, you know? So I didn't leave in apostasy in the first time. I left more because I was just really wanting some excitement. You know, I used to go to a lot of parties. Yeah, you know, just a typical 23, 24-year-old mindset. And I was only actually out for 18 months. And then last year in COVID, I was a little bit low emotionally. I had no contact other than, yeah, I had no contact with my parents, with my family. I had no girlfriend. I had no friends because obviously of COVID, nobody was coming to my house. I lived on my own with my dogs. I actually went 2 months without seeing a human being. I've been going to the supermarket. And that is actually when I made the most, I should just say very humbly, but the most success in my career, because it's where I read the most. I just put all into everything. I said, screw corporate. I don't ever want to go back to a 9 to 5. I want to make some fireworks happen for some, you know, with somebody. And, you know, lo and behold, in May, I came across M, and, you know, some cool things happened. I've met some really cool people along the way. Worked with some amazing startups, including, you know, where I work now. And yeah, I'm super proud of that, you know. And in that low moment of emotional weakness, I once experienced questioning life, and I turned to my father. And he pointed me to people in the church. I was already talking with the people in the church. I admitted that I'd sinned, because I had done. I'd partied. I'd done everything you do when you're a free man, which again, I confessed the sins because I felt that was the thing to do then. And I'm not embarrassed of that. And I just told my father, like, I can't be in this. I mean, I really need containment.
Yeah.
COVID hit people with a sledgehammer. You know, even the strongest people have had cracks, and I consider myself quite a strong person emotionally because of what I've been through, and I cracked. You know, and I'm happy to admit it. And I think talking about it and being exposed to your vulnerabilities is not a bad thing. And I came back home. I obviously had to conform
Yeah.
to the church, you know, to doing some of the church principles. But obviously I had already fallen in love with somebody. So seeing that person was very, very difficult for me. I went through a time where I didn't see her for 3 months. And we were faithful to each other. And then about in November last year, I had a discussion with the church where they told me that they wanted to know how much I was earning. because my earnings have been very good this year. I've made some good money. I've done some good stuff. I'm actively investing in different ventures, and I've made some good returns. They wanted to know how much money I was making, if I could work inside one of their business places, if I could come under their sort of mentorship, which was a little bit biased. And I obviously pushed back and said no. Like, I have my mentors, I have friends that I call out to. I don't feel the need. And plus, I think a mentorship should be you should ask, you shouldn't be forced. And then the second thing was, of course, the conflict I had in my inner self with never being able to be a father in the church and be with somebody who wasn't of the church. And that was pretty much the last ebb, along with a few other small things. I thought, this is not about her, or it's not about the context, it's more about the principle. I can't live with the principle. I have to be faithful to myself. And I do hope that one day they will come round and there will be some level of enlightenment where people realize that, hey, God is a big family. This is a wide family. This isn't a singular vertical where, we're right, you're wrong type agreement. It's not like that, and here we are. And most important thing is, I've gone through some pretty traumatic days the last couple of weeks and months, and, I'm still smiling. And, if I died now, I'd die with a happy soul. Some things are sad, but by hell, the happiness outweighs the sadness. So the proof is in the pudding, as they say in England.
The proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. That's a new one for me. So what are you looking at right now in terms of the church is considering you an apostate now? So you can still go back, right? They would consider you like a lost sheep.
Correct. I mean, if I went back now and said sorry, I shouldn't have left, I was wrong. I will cut all my ties. I will stop doing Beyond PPC because that's evil, because I'm on Spotify. If I show them my finances and show them actually I make a good amount of money, and I'm not scared to show it, not because I'm proud, but because, hey, good things happen when you do the right thing. I mean, hard work pays off. And they don't like that, Economical dependence is man's biggest weakness.
Yeah.
If
That's
you can
true.
hold somebody financially, you have a soul served on a plate. Money, the fear of poverty is a huge factor in emotional containment or retention. And everybody in the church works for the church. I'm like one in probably, I think there'd be 1% of the church would work for diverse career paths.
Which they would allow, right? That's allowed.
Not really. I mean, I was a little bit of a rebel, Yeah.
So that's why they had to ask you, basically, because you are not working within the system. It's not transparent enough to them, so they were in a position that they have to ask you what would be the if you've told them, would they ask for I guess a percentage to be redirected somewhere? What do you think their goal is here?
No, I don't really think the goal is that. I think it's more the fact that if you earn a good amount of money, you would need to maybe contribute more and help more, and you should be more dedicated to the church because you're financially okay, and by hell, there's some very, very affluent people in the church, very successful businesses, mainly because they're very hard workers. And I think discipline is one of the underlying principles of success, as we all know. And discipline is one of the things that doesn't come easily, but churches give you discipline because you have to do X, Y, Z because of the consequences of not doing X, Y, Z. So,
that's a foreign concept to me. You see, that is a completely foreign concept to me. because that's not how the Orthodox Church works. Nobody's making you do
Well,
anything.
that's why. Well, that's the
Yeah.
difference.
No,
That's the difference.
nobody's making you do anything. Like I've been always observing the church as you know, what the church proclaims as the church, as a set of guidelines. You know, there are many ways to the kingdom of God, but this is the one you want to take.
Yeah.
That's how I see the church. You know, there's no human being in this world. Well, not necessarily, but it's highly unlikely that somebody here, like an individual, you know, knows exactly what's the right path, you know. But in Christian Orthodox Church, you have the church fathers, which is basically a combined centuries of as you call Bible interpretation, conversations, apologetics, theology, and everything, and it's right there. You can read, you can learn from it, you can make your own decisions about it, you can make your own conclusions about it. The church says this is the path you want to take. Our collective centuries of knowledge and doctrine and whatnot tell us this. You know when I sit down and make conclusions out of data, you know, that this is what we do at work, and that's basically how this works for me. You know, I sit down, I read, I figure it out. You know, I'm personally not a fan of complete obedience, because complete obedience is what you owe to God. You know, you don't owe that to a man. So it's obedience out of love is the kind of obedience that we subscribe to in the church. At least that's how we are being guided. I'm not saying I see people who are just obedient because they think this is how you do it, you know, but there's a lack of love, and that's a big problem. We'll talk about it another time, especially because I want to talk about that with B on a different topic. But that being said, that's why it's a foreign concept to me. You know, you do it like this, and it's black and white. You either do it like this or bam, you're done. Yet there, you know, even the story from the Bible where, you know, teacher, you know, this guy is going following us and curing people in your name, you know, and I can't English hard. Be ready to jump in, and you know, feel free to jump in if you want to. But that's the point. What do we do with him? You know, leave him be. You know, leave him be, and that's the point. You know, there's no like one singular way to God and kingdom of heaven and everything that was promised to us. There can't be. Like,
Let's just repeat that. There is no singular way to the kingdom of God. That's wonderful. You made my day.
no,
I'm
like
thinking of,
like really.
but that is the real deal, you know. And come on, guys, we're in 2021. You know, communication is so effing decentralized. Nothing can be hidden anymore. Come out from your darkness and your myths and your methods of constraint, and be open about what you actually want to do. You know, if you want to, and that's it. You know, and the reality is that the new black is transparency. You know, I think we often at work, you know, in our when we talk about brand and we talk about building up awareness and all of these, you know, principles or key drivers of marketing, we're always talking about transparency, because transparency shows that you have nothing to hide, and if you have nothing to hide, then people know what to expect. If people know what to expect, they'll come back. You know, you build loyalty through being transparent with how you work and what you do. And the same principle for church and for a church and a religion. But the reality is that we're not talking about a church here, guys. We're talking about I won't say this, but I will. But we're looking at more of a cult or a sect. And the reality is that escaping a cult or escaping a sect is a process of being able to lean into other channels in your life that you can get energy from and be able to move forward. And that's really the process that I'm at the moment. And I feel that, again, super happy to be alive and to be able to live and talk this experience.
The only thing I'm going to
Uh,
ask you is how can we help?
Invite me to the show.
That's not.
No, we didn't hear you,
believe
B. We didn't hear you, B.
By the
Your
way-
microphone sucks.
I told that's not financial.
That's not.
How can we help in a way that's not financial?
Oh, he's
You
very
are-
capable of taking care of himself in that matter. So don't worry
Yeah, I
about
know,
it.
but I'm like amazed at how long we were tiptoeing around the word cult and like faith community.
Sorry, I literally got it like these people.
Like, don't use the C word, the four letters
The
C
C
word.
word, the 4 letters. You're naughty, B. You're naughty.
No,
naughty
he's-
mouse. Naughty
He's
mouse.
terrible. I'm trying not to laugh. It's very hard because he's doing it to me. He's doing it to me. I'm trying to be respectful, but it's
But no, I do not want to use the word because, like, okay, it is community. It's not my business to like use names and slurs. But like, if he used it, okay, fine.
next.
if you actually go on to, sorry,
No, please.
sorry, Milan. No, I just say if you go onto YouTube, like on a serious note, and actually do some research, I would invite you to be, I think M as well. You will notice that there is multiple cases of homosexuals, for example, being thrown out, excommunicated. People like myself who have a liberal way of thinking and challenge structures. They are also overthrown. But the reality is that it's not about the quantity, but it's about the reality of life and living what we are now. And I'm absolutely convinced that there's going to come a time where it's going to be different, and I'm going to be able to talk with my parents and have different beliefs and still be able to love and to hug and to
Jason, man, that is a thing to
be-
fight
yeah.
for. That is a thing to fight for. If you're gonna fight for anything in life,
Yeah.
that's a thing to fight for. I mean, I can't imagine being in a position like that. I can't imagine. Like, I grew up without a mother. I grew up with my father. He was everything to me up until the point where I met my wife and had my kids. That's the first time things have really changed. But I still, even at this point, it would be absolutely unacceptable to not be able to communicate with him. Like, I would argue with my father and then couldn't sleep for days after that. It's like something that is unacceptable. It's so this is a hard burden, but I do have a suggestion. His name is Jesus Christ, and he is the bearer of the most heavy of the burdens, as he had himself told us. Come to me.
All ye who labor.
Yes.
All ye who labor, and for my yoke is easy and my burden is light.
Thank you for translating that from my brain to Church Mouse Chronicles. I don't read the Bible in English. I purchased a very big, it was recommended to me by a YouTube channel, by an obscure little Orthodox YouTube channel. It's called the Orthodox Study Bible, which I'm going to try to study because it's in English, and I'm going to try to be better at it. But I have B here to help me when I get stuck. But yeah, that's really honestly the best, I think the best suggestion one can make, because what seems impossible to us humans, to us men, is very much possible to God. So
Yeah.
that's
I
and
always
we
think at night, sorry.
No, please.
No, I always think at night when I go to sleep, I always think, of the sky of the galaxies and the ocean. I'm an avid surfer, as you guys know, and when you're in the ocean, you feel the power of the waves, and you see the fish jump through your surfboard, or you're surfing and you see fish in the waves going faster than you, and you think you really realize that the power of God, or the power of righteousness, will always prevail, and at the end of the day, you just have to rest in the peace, and you might say, just rest in that, that's it, like it. And now may God work, and may families, may religions, cults, awful atrocities come around. My arms will be open. I'm not here holding up a banner saying you're wrong, I'm right, because I've just taught quite the opposite to that. I just think that we're all different, and we can all come together on one basis for the love of God at the end of the day. Whatever your badge is, and whatever your color of skin, whatever your, whatever. I mean, sexuality is a big thing, at the moment in religion. And I think even that is something that's so righteous that we're open about this. And I have friends in England that have been maltreated by the church because of their sexual inclinations, and that has really offended me for many years. And it's the same principle of coming together on the basis of love. Then everything else is excluded. It's the exclusion of all others. If there is love, and it's unconditional.
Mm-hmm.
I could curse now, but it'd be a bit contrary. Screw the rest. Screw the rest.
True.
That's all I'd say. Screw the structures. I've got no time for them at all whatsoever. They've destroyed a part of my soul, and I'm rebuilding it. So I don't have any time for them. If you're bringing love and you're bringing transparency and just companionship and loyalty, then good, that's great. Best of luck. But if you're brainwashing and you're indoctrinating because of retention and because of cohesive manners, then that's quite contrary to the love of God. And I'm 100% openly stating that. I am not a figure of, I don't have an element of doubt about that. I have a ton of mistakes. I've made a ton of errors in my life, but I'm definitely not wrong about that.
Jay, I think we might call you again.
Sure.
Because we love talking to you. But I have the privilege of talking to you
The privilege
every day. So it's B who is gonna make the official call next time. Just kidding. Thank you very, very much for sharing.
Thank you.
This.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure my face doesn't show it, but I'm deeply disturbed right now about some things. I have to be very honest with you. I'm a bit angry, feeling that my friend is being mistreated and is subjected to something that I'm not sure if I would be able to bear myself. Therefore, again, all I think we can offer is a helping hand, or an ear, or a shoulder, or, if you will, a knee. Whatever you prefer. And I'm gonna have to call it tonight, because I actually, believe it or not, have to work.
It's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you for inviting me to the show. I've really, really enjoyed it, and it's done me a world of good to open up and talk about it as well. So if there's ever any other opportunity for you guys to invite me, I'll be happy to sit in.
Oh yeah, like I
Thank you.
have a ton of questions about religious practices, which we never touched. Just saying.
Same.
So,
But thanks for joining us. This was really terrific. So
bye for now, and
hope to hear you on again.
bye, Chaslav.
thank you, B.
Bye, Chaslav.
Thank you, Em. Bye, Chaslav. Chaslav.
He's waving. Wave.
Bye.